Alright, I'm back with another TBR jar attempt. I mean, attempt makes it sound like I failed last time. I definitely didn't fail. I definitely don't think I'm going to finish all of my books. But we're going to try again for March, because I thought this was really fun. So we're going to do this again, my TBR bucket. It's not really much of a jar, but we're going to pull some prompts out of a jar, and that's going to determine what I'm going to try to read in March. If you missed my last video, this is the second time I've done this. I did this for February as well, but if you missed my last video, I actually have a secret little second bucket in here. I am trying to read all of the Goodreads winners from 2023. So this holds the names of specific books for me to read, and this one is the more standard prompt situation that you see on a lot of people's TBR videos, which are very popular these days. Which I understand why. I enjoy watching people's TBR videos, so I understand why other people enjoy watching people's TBR videos. I also don't have a very big physical TBR. It has... I'm not actually sure if it's grown from last month, because I read a few of the ones that I had from last month, but I did buy myself some new ones, so it's probably grown a little bit. So we've got some stuff on the physical TBR, and I also have my laptop here with my Notion database of all of the books that I want to read at some point in time. So it is only the 20th of Feb. Still have 9 days left to try to finish my February TBR, but I definitely don't think I'm going to finish the whole thing. One of the ones I really don't think I'm going to get to is The Outsider, which was one of the Goodreads books that I have to read. It's not the winner itself, but the book in that series was the winner for last year. So I have to read the first book first. I didn't end up buying it because I was hoping it would pop up on my library holds, but it hasn't come through on my library holds, and I just don't think I'm going to have time to get to it this month. So I did put the Holly Give Me prompt back into the little jar, so we can pull that one out again, possibly. That's about it. Other than that, there are a few things that I would like to try to get onto my TBR for this month, but it really depends on what comes out of the jar. I am only going to go with 2 from my little jar this time. Last month I ended up deciding to pull 3 out of here just in case, but we're going to do 2 from the little jar that gives us our Goodreads books, and then we're going to pull 4 out of the regular prompt jar. So let's get started. I guess I'm going to be adding these to my Notion TBR as we go. But yeah, let's give this one a shake and see what we get. As you may know from last month, there's one in here that I really don't want to pull out, but the rest would be fine. It's one that I'm trying to get from the library instead of having to buy, but if they come up on this list, might have to buy it. Oh, would you look at that? It's Holly Give Me. How convenient. I will just move The Outsider from my February TBR to my March TBR. So that's nice. March 2024 TBR. Very convenient. I'm gonna leave it on the February list as well in Notion, just so I can see which ones I maybe did not complete when I was supposed to. But that has been added to my March TBR. Also, if I ever say February TBR in this, I'm sorry. It's probably going to happen. It is currently February. It's only the 20th of February when I'm recording this. Remembering that I am recording this as a March thing is going to be difficult for me. But please ignore if I do that. This is my March TBR. So that is our first book for March. It's called The Outsider. I don't think I actually said. I haven't actually described anything about this book. So this is The Outsider, which is by Stephen King. The book that won the Goodreads award is called Holly, which is the 3rd book in this Holly Give Me series. And I haven't read any of these books. I actually don't think I've even ever read a Stephen King, which feels a bit weird. So I'm excited to read a Stephen King. But we got to start from the start of the series. So we're starting with The Outsider. I actually don't really know much about the book other than that it's a Stephen King horror. So, I don't know if I need to know anything about the book. I will probably read the blurb when I get the book. I don't know if I'll buy it immediately or if I'm going to try to wait for the library again, but I will definitely try to read it this month. Alright, next one. This is... Ooh, Alex Stern one. Okay, that's good. So this will be Ninth House. This is a series by, what is their name? I feel like this video is a mess so far. Lee Bardugo, there we go. Okay, so yes, Alex Stern is a newish series by Lee Bardugo, who is also the person who wrote the Grishaverse. So Shadow and Bone is probably the most well-known one, not necessarily the most popular. But Shadow and Bone series by Lee Bardugo, but this is the new series, which is the series is called Alex Stern. The book that won the 2023 award is called Hellbent, but I will be first reading Ninth House, which is the first book. Hellbent is the second book. I'm making this way more confusing than it needs to be. I'm going to read Hellbent. That's a great one because it is nearly ready at the library. I think I'm third in the list at the library, so I'll be able to grab that one from the library pretty soon. So that is fantastic. Again, I don't really know much about what that book is. I don't know much about a lot of the Goodreads winner books because I'm just reading them because they're Goodreads winners, not because I read them and thought that sounded like a good book that I wanted to read. I read the blurb. But yeah, that is my 2 Goodreads books for this month. Now comes the fun part, where we actually get to pull things out of a jar and choose what we're going to read based on what it says. So, we're going to do 4 of these. Let's grab our first one and see what we get and what we choose based on what we get. Okay, that's upside down. There we go. A book with a great first line. Okay, I'm gonna have to read the first line of a bunch of books. We're gonna try to stick to the ones that are on my physical TBR for this because otherwise I'm gonna have to do a bunch of Googling. I don't want to have to do that. If it had been the first paragraph, it might have been this. First sentence, not so much. It said first line, but I'm going with first sentence. Okay, so there are a couple that I thought were really quite good. There are a lot of very intriguing ones and ones that I went, I will probably like this story, but in terms of like being a really good, really drawn in first line, when you have no other context of what the book is, there were only a couple that I think were really good. So, one of the options I have was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I'll read you the first line. We're going with the first sentence. I'm going to update that on my list for next time, if I remember. So this is before Mazer invented himself as Mazer. He was Samson Mazer. Before he was Samson Mazer, he was Samson Mazer. A change of 2 letters that transformed him from a nice, ostensibly Jewish boy to a professional builder of worlds. And for most of his youth, he was Sam, S-A-M, on the Hall of Fame of his grandfather's Donkey Kong machine. But mainly Sam. So I thought that one was pretty good. And the other one, we have a Matthew Riley, Secret Runners of New York, in which our first line in the prologue is, "The girl in the torn bridal gown ran for her life through Central Park." So that sounds fun. As always, in a Matthew Riley. I knew I could rely on Matthew Riley to start strongly with a line. And I think in terms of the other challenges and stuff that I'm trying to do for this month and this year, I think I'm going to go with Matthew Riley because I do have to read a book by an Australian author this month if I want to finish the Dimmicks reading challenge for this quarter. So yeah, this is Matthew Riley, Secret Runners of New York. I got this for my partner for Christmas and I haven't read it yet, so I'm excited to read this one. It's the little top bit says Think Mean Girls versus Back to the Future with a little bit of apocalyptic sci-fi thrown in. That sounds like a lot of fun. I've read most Matthew Riley books. I'm a big fan of Matthew Riley. Do I think his writing is amazing? No. But do I always enjoy his books? Yes. They're always a really good, fun time, and it's not a particularly long book. I chose a lot of long books last month, which is why I'm definitely not going to finish everything on my list for February. But yeah, I think this is what I'm going to go with for this month. So that is Matthew Riley, The Secret Runners of New York, and I will add that to my list. I'm not actually sure if it's in my Notion TBR, but I will add it. It is here. Wonderful. On to our March 2024 TBR. Excellent. Let's grab another one. I folded this one crookedly, apparently. Alright, we have... Upside down again, yes. Oh, just a science fiction novel. That is very basic. Ooh, I don't even know what science fiction I have on my list at the moment. Let me do a sort through my Notion. Okay, I do have quite a few on here. It's unfortunate because I could have put Secret Runners New York on here. I don't have a lot of other sci-fi options. I mean, I've got, 10 sitting here, but in terms of what I actually want to read and want to possibly have to buy, I think I'm gonna go with Jade City. Let's add that to our March TBR. This is a series that I've been hearing a lot about lately, the Green Bone Saga, which starts with Jade City, which is like an urban fantasy sci-fi sort of thing from what I hear. And I think jade is like both a currency and a drug by the sounds of things, and people use jade to become more powerful. Maybe I should open up on Goodreads and actually read what it says. Jade City is a gripping Godfather-esque saga of intergenerational blood feuds, vicious politics, magic, and kung fu. The Cow family is one of 2 crime syndicates that control the island of Kekon. It's the only place in the world that produces rare magical jade, which grants those with the right training and heritage superhuman abilities. The Greenbone clans of honourable jade-wearing warriors once protected the island from foreign invasions. But nowadays, in a bustling post-war metropolis full of fast cars and foreign money, Greenbone families like the Cows are primarily involved in commerce, construction, and the everyday upkeep of the districts under their protection. When the simmering tension between the Cows and their greatest rivals erupts into open violence in the streets, the outcome of this clan war will determine the fate of all Greenbones and the future of Kekon itself. So that sounds pretty interesting. I've heard a lot of good things about Jade City and the series in general. So yeah, I'm excited to read it. I'm a little bit nervous about starting another new series, but I am excited to read it. Alright. Let's see what our third prompt is. It's like a long one. Alright, read the oldest living author on your TBR. Okay, that one's gonna require some research. Oh man, okay. Let's just go with the physical TBR that I have right here, so. I think that's it. So I think we have to go with Owen Colfer. The thing is, I have 2 Owen Colfer books on my TBR. So these are the 2 I have. I have Hi-Fi and I also have Artemis Fowl. I did buy the Artemis Fowl box set book last month. Box set. Simon is currently reading these. He has already finished the first one. If I'm only doing one for the month, it's not like I'm going to catch up to him, but I have had this one on my physical TBR for slightly longer. My sister lent this one to me, so I should probably read it so that I can give it back to her the next time I see her. So yeah, I think we're going to go with High Fire by Owen Colfer. So this is like adult fantasy by Owen Colfer. I've only ever read his Artemis Fowl series, which is, not even like young adult, it's like child, teen, middle school age sort of books, which I absolutely love them. I'm really excited to reread them. I haven't read them since I was at least in high school, so I'm really excited to reread that series, but I'm also excited to try out his adult fantasy. So let's have a read off the back. The new adult fantasy from the international best-selling author of Artemis Fowl. Squib Moreau may be a swamp wild, street smart, dark-eyed, Cajun blood tearaway, but his intentions are generally good. He really wants to be a supportive son to his hard-working mama Elodie. So when Squib is offered an apprenticeship by the local moonshine runner, a summer on the bayou looks like the only way to pay off family debts and maybe get him and his mama a place in town, far away from crooked Constable Regent's Hook's unwanted courtship of Elodie, and a ton of debts left by fake daddy before he skipped town on them. Some really interesting naming going on here. Unfortunately for Squib, the crooked constable has his own eye on the very same stretch of bayou, and neither of them have taken into account the dragon hiding out in the Louisiana swamp. Change is coming for Squib Moreau, and for Vern, aka Lord Highfire, and life in the bayou is never going to be the same again. Funny, violent, gripping tale of a boy, a corrupt constable, and the last dragon in the world. Maybe. So that sounds really interesting. I was reading most of that saying, this was a fantasy, right? Apparently it is a fantasy. We've got dragons, so definitely fantasy. Maybe a bit light on the fantasy, but definitely some fantasy. And by an author I'm really excited to read some more of his work. So that should be fun. Let me add that one to my list. Alright, and now our fourth and final prompt. We have a book with multiple POVs. Alright, again, gonna have to do a little bit of research into this one. This one's been a much harder month so far for finding the prompts. Let me do a little bit of research and find out what has multiple POVs that is on my list. So, we're gonna go with Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross, which is the second book in the duology of, I think it's called Letters of Enchantment, is the actual name of the duology. This is the follow-up to Divine Rivals. I read Divine Rivals in January? Was it only January? It's either December or January. I read it pretty recently, so I'm excited to finish off this story, but I did just do a quick check in Divine Rivals. We did split a little bit between Iris, mostly Iris, a little bit of Roman POV. I did just do a little Google and it said that Ruthless Vows also has multiple POVs. So yeah, we're going to go with this one and we're going to finish off that duology, which is fantastic. I love finishing things off. Let me add that one to my Notion TBR. It's only fair that since I'm starting a new series, I also get to finish a series. Let's have a look at our entirety of our March TBR. Alright, so this is our entire TBR for March. I already own half of them, so we're 50-50, which is not terrible. And definitely at least one of them I will be getting from the library, so not too bad on the having to buy books front. We have Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross, which was a book with multiple POVs. We have High Fire by Owen Colfer, which was the book written by the oldest living author on our TBR. We have The Secret Runners of New York by Matthew Riley, which was a book with a great first sentence. I then have The Outsider by Stephen King, which is one of my Goodreads winners. I have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which is another of my Goodreads winners. And finally, we're going to have to go out and we're going to buy Jade City by Fonda Lee, which was our science fiction novel. So probably not TBR that I'm most excited about, but I am looking forward to reading most of these books. I haven't got anything that's super long on here, whereas last month I had like 3 really long books. So hopefully this one seems a little bit more achievable. We've only got 6 this month instead of 7, so that is much more, probably more realistic than what I had last month. So yeah, we're gonna get into reading some of these in March. We're still in February, so I still have a couple of books to finish off for February. And then yeah, we're gonna be jumping into these books for March. If you want to see what my February TBR is, you can check out the video. I will link to it. I think it's up on this side. I always get it wrong. It could be this side. I will link to it for you to check out what my February TBR was, and I will also be doing a review of all of the books that I read in February. Everything that I've read so far in February was on my February TBR, but if I happen to pick up something else, in the next 9 days that is not on my TBR, that will also be in my review video. It doesn't have to be a book from my TBR to be in the review video. It's just everything that I read within that month. So yeah, I'll be doing a wrap up of all of my February reads next week. After you guys watch this, it'll be a week until you see my February wrap up. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Come back at the end of March to see how I did with my March TBR. And yeah, thanks for sticking around. I will see you next time. Bye!